I'm going to be demoing how to make this. You've seen these, right? Tell me in the chat. Have you seen these interactive Excel dashboards where you use the filters on the left to drill down and explore the data? And then everything's linked very cleverly behind the scenes, which is what this session is all about, so that you don't have to update anything. And when you get new data in, you only have to click one button to refresh all of those very clever, like behind the scenes, and it's just done. You set up the skeleton, the template of this one time, and then it's pretty much done for your recurring analyses. Have you seen this? Maybe. If not, like surprise, surprise, it's here. Filters, aka slicers, they've been in Excel since I want to say 2018. That's newish. That's newish. That's not forever. Excel came out in 85. They didn't get slicers till 2018. You might have seen these before. You might not, okay? So this is what we're going to be building, that I'm going to be building, and you're going to be watching, because obviously with like 100 plus people, we can't share screens. It's only 30 minutes. If we had 3 hours or 6 hours, we'd all do it together. All right, and what we're gonna do to build this, I've got all the instructions typed out in detail for you. You're gonna have to stick around till the end though to find out where to download this. Okay, don't log off early if you want to get all of the templates yourself. This is what we're gonna do. We're really just gonna link 4 pieces together. Okay, so first up, we're going to have a data set. I'll tell you more about those details. Second, we're gonna add a bunch of pivot tables. Third, we're going to add a bunch of pivot charts. Then fourth, we're going to link it all together with a slicer or 2. In real life, you might have 2 or 3 slicers for people to use. Okay, this is the big picture. If you remember nothing else from today, it's this. The interactive dashboards are really just these 4 elements. It's your data set, pivot tables, plural, pivot charts, plural, and then a slicer or 2 or 3, but not too many, not 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. Okay, that's the big picture. And then I'm going to walk you through each of these steps in more detail. So I'm going to walk you through step 1, the data set, and how you'd have to store your contiguous data set, how you'd have to do some recoding. These columns on the right in red are recoded. I'm going to walk you through how to set up pivot tables. We're going to do a kind of like a beginner / intermediate pivot table lesson. They look like this. And then we'll make some charts. We'll add a slicer. I'm probably just going to show you 2 of these. I think I'll probably just make 2 charts and then be thinking about what types of questions you have. And I'll demo as much more of this as you want. Like if you want to know, how did you add the little sentence right here? This isn't, I didn't manually type this. Like, look at this one. 11 people have been in the program for 3 months or longer. I didn't manually type that. That's behind the scenes, okay? That's all formulas. I didn't manually type. Maybe you have questions about that. Maybe you have questions about adding the word people, or this one changes from person to people, depending on how many sites are selected. You tell me, okay? So I'm going to demo these 4 steps at a high level. I'm going to make 1 or 2 of these charts, but then I'm going to turn it over to you, choose your own adventure style, and we'll get through as much as we possibly can. And then at the end, I'm going to share this Excel file with you. Sounds good? All right, that's our game plan. Let me minimize this file. This is the answer key with all the answers in it. And we're going to open up, oh, here's my 20s. We're going to open up the your turn, the blank file, which is right here, not this one. Here it is. Here is the blank file. Okay. You're going to get this one too, which just has the data set, but it doesn't have the rest of the stuff. So this is the one where you can rewatch the recording later, do everything yourself to pause the recording, as you get stuck. All right, so first up, our data set, right? I warned you, it's really just these 4 steps. Yes and no, right? There's some nuances here. All the nuances are deep. That's what all this is, okay? That's all the nuances too, as your cheat sheet. First, we need our data set. Now, the most important thing, now this is fake data, right? This isn't real data. This is inspired by my past work with nonprofits as an internal evaluator. The most important thing is that your data set is contiguous. A contiguous data set. Tell me in the chat, do you recognize that term? Do you know what contiguous means? Because for some people, this is a new term, and some people know it. I don't know, you tell me. Contiguous. Contiguous. Give me your best definition. No blank columns, no blank rows. It's a single touching data set. Contiguous means sharing a border, sharing edges. So it's not like look, we have all these 3 fictional program sites. They're all in one table together. It's not site A is over here and site B is over there and site C is in some different CSV or Excel file. They're all combined. You can't make a dashboard that compares the 3 sites unless they're combined together already. So ideally, you'd be proactive and you just export your data from your database as one big download, as one big canned report. You wouldn't download it separately, right? Okay. One contiguous data set. That's probably the second most important thing I can teach you today. The first thing is it's really just these 4 pieces. And the second thing is contiguous data sets are absolutely key. You can't do good data viz if you don't have a contiguous data set behind the scenes. All right, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to take our data set and turn it into an Excel table. An Excel table, an uppercase T table. Let me know in the chat. What is an uppercase T table? Are you familiar with this? Table, an Excel table. I've been using Excel forever and ever. Literally in elementary school, my dad taught me Lotus 1, 2, 3, which is like similar-ish to Excel, right? Similar-ish to Google Sheets. And I don't think Excel tables, I don't think I started using them until maybe 5 years ago. They were newish to me. It's not the same as a pivot table on. No, it's a little bit different. Edwin, yes, the keyboard shortcut is Control T. It goes like this. You have your contiguous data set. You click in the upper left corner, which is usually cell A1. You go to Insert and you click on the table button, and you're going to recognize what happens. This view right here with the banded rows, the color-coded row, you've seen those, right? Okay. The beauty of Excel tables is they have built-in filters. So you can sort and filter. And what else? As you scroll, the column headers stay in view. Isn't that nice? So you can remember what's what. Like you may have all these date columns in real life. You want to remember which one's which. And then the really exciting part is for our recurring analyses. Like if you have to do a report every month, quarter, year, you can add in new data. I'm going to just manually type in some fake data right now, but in real life, you'd be like downloading data, adding it. Okay. And look, the table appends. It appends very, very easily. It expands to fill your new data, which saves us so much time in the long run. So we're not doing manual error and typo filled work over and over. Okay. Contiguous data set. It's stored as an Excel table. What else do you need to know about this? I guess just that you're going to keep your raw data in black. And then over here to the side, we're going to add a bunch of clean columns. Okay, we're not going to touch the raw data. Raw and clean data need to stay separate. Everybody who's ever taken any data class in the world knows that. Don't mess up your raw data. And then I like to put all the clean columns off to the right. So if we want to make let's make this one first. Let's make a simple 2-slice donut chart about household income. If we'd want to make this showing income ranges, like less than 100,000, 100,000 or more, we have to look there. We don't have that data. We have the exact amounts. So we can't make that chart yet. We'd have to make a column first that recodes that. Okay. I'm going to just demo one of these, time permitting. If you want, you tell me when it's question time, if you want to see more of these. Okay. So I would call this household income, more or less than 100,000, something so I can spot it later. It's for Anne. These are just the notes for Anne behind the scenes. I'm going to make it red because a coworker years ago taught me to do that. And let me zoom in so you can see this. I'm just going to do some recoding with the good old if statement. Tell me in the chat, are you familiar with if? There's if, there's nested if, average ifs, some ifs, count if, there's a million ifs. It's conditional if then, okay? Probably, if you're not familiar with this, put it on your homework list. You've got to know if. If is critical, okay? It'll go like this. Let me zoom in more. And hopefully you can see this formula bar. I made it super big so that you can see it, but I don't know what size screen you're on. So if you can't see it, you tell me. I'm on a huge monitor, so these cells are like 5 inches tall on my screen right now. Let's do a simple if. So you can see the progression from raw data to clean, categorized, recoded data into pivot table, into pivot chart. Okay. Equals if this original value is greater than or equal to 100,000. I think I got the right number of zeros. Then call it 100K or more. Otherwise, call it, I think I called it this, less than 100,000. I'm thinking forward to what should the labels in my two slice donut chart say? So all these four elements, you have to be able to work forward through them and work backward through them. Okay, let's see if statementing in front of correctly. I think I didn't. Oh, I'm. That's okay. Excel was starting to tell me I'm missing my double quotes. Okay, here we go. Let's spot check a couple. That is less than. That's more than. Okay, great. So in real life, let's see. How big of data sets do I typically have? I'm working with a foundation right now, looking at a lot of their grant making data. So they have one row per grant, not grantee, but per grant, per project for like 15 years. So it's thousands of entries with all of their grant making. And we have probably the regular columns from their grant making database go through roughly A through Z. And then the red columns are into the not even double A's, like AB. There's a bunch of many red columns. This is just the probably easiest one for me to demo for you. All right, step one, check, right? We've got our data set. It's contiguous. It's stored as an Excel table, an uppercase T table, not a generic lowercase t table. We kept our raw data separate from our clean data. I kept the raw data in black off to the left. I would put tons of clean data off to the right in red. Notice how it's still contiguous, right? I didn't skip a column so that, did you see how the Excel table automatically expanded to fit all the nice, right? Super nice. When you add new rows to the bottom of your table, you don't have to do your if statement again. The if statement also fills down. That's the beauty of Excel tables for this. Data set, check. Number 2, pivot tables, plural. 1 pivot table per chart. If you want to chart it, it needs a pivot table. And it probably needs some recoding back in the data set too. All right. How familiar are you with pivot tables? You tell me in the chat. Do you use pivot tables all day, every day? Have you heard of them? Do you use them once in a while, but you get stuck? I don't know, you tell me. Maybe you're not in Excel a lot. Some people use them all the time, some people don't. I see never, heard of them, not used, used daily, pretty familiar, my favorite ever, occasionally use them, still learning. Okay, great. Here's how they work. They're pretty easy. It's just a drag and drop. So I'm gonna make one for that household income. Like I want to make a chart of that, right? So I have to have a pivot table. We're going to click on the upper left corner of our data set, our Excel table. We're going to go to insert. Last time we clicked table, that's why it's grayed out. There's already a table. This time we're going to click pivot table. We're going to see a pop-up. All you have to do here is the first pivot table is going to go on a new worksheet. The second one is going to go on the existing worksheet. I'll have a couple of these. Don't worry. New worksheet. Okay, let's name our worksheet. You're not allowed to leave this class with sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. That's an absolute red flag. Let's rename it. And because I'm demoing these 4 steps, I'm going to call this number 2. This is pivot tables, plural, because again, we're going to have a bunch of them. Do you see the boxes off to the right? This is where we get to drag and drop. Do you recognize the names of these fictional demographic fields? What these are? ID, program site, primary language spoken, pronouns. Those are our column headers. ID, program site, primary language spoken, pronouns. That's why I didn't just call, oops, where did it go? That's why I didn't just call this one variable 10 or whatever. I called it a real name so that I could recognize it in a moment. We're not writing an essay, but it's okay to have some details here because again, I want to be able to spot it. And then I remember, oh yeah, that's the coded one, right? I've got the original regular one, that's the recoded one. So these are the variables. This is where our tabulation is going to happen. It's empty right now. A lot of people freak out the first time. Where is the table? We're going to drag and drop. We're going to make it, okay? These are the variables. This is where the pivot table is going to appear in a moment. These are the 4 boxes we get to drag and drop into without any formulas. Pivot tables are great for beginners because you don't have to know a lot of formulas behind the scenes. A good rule of thumb is anytime you have a data set with people, participants, if you have ID numbers, well, you should have ID numbers. They should be typically off to the left, preferably in the first column. That helps with some of the other formulas that are very particular about that. Okay. If you have a data set with ID numbers, you're going to put that in the value box because we're tallying up how many people. So I'm going to drag ID. I'm going to put it in values. It says we've got 30,000 people. What? No, we don't. We have like 100 and some. We have, how many people are in here? Not 30,000, right? We have like this many. 158, but it's telling me I have 30,000. Do you know why? Do you know why? If you've used pivot tables before, this should be pretty easy. It's because it's giving me a sum. It's counting up 300 plus 301. It's not counting these as 2 people. It's counting it as 601 people. So we're going to fix that. Okay. You're going to drag ID into values. You change it from a sum to a count. Value field settings, sum turns into count. 158, there's our N. And if we want to make a graph of household income, we put it right there. Okay. And there's our tally. We've got 70 people in this bucket, 88 in this bucket. That's 158 total. I'm going to do this. Do I dare do it one more time? Um, I'll do primary language spoken just so you can see this one more time. All right. Upper left corner of our data set, insert pivot table. This one doesn't go in a new worksheet. It goes in the existing worksheet. We have to choose the location. So I'm going to click on the little arrow. I'm going over to the sheet that I named very nicely. I'm going to skip a ton of space. Okay. Leave a huge gap here. You're going to send the answer key too. You're going to see a ton of space because Excel gets really angry if our pivot tables overlap. We get very jargony error messages. So you leave a ton of space, put the second one down here like this. It should look familiar, right? Okay. Empty table. This is where our tabulation will appear. We've got the variables right here. Same steps. I wanted to do this twice in case you're new, so you can be like, oh, that's it, right? Drag ID into values. You know what to do next. Change it from a sum to a count right here. There's our 158. Last time we did household income. Let's grab primary language spoken. Okay, it's right here. 1 row per language. The name pivot table comes from this. Look, drag and drop. If you put it in columns, you get 1 column per language. I don't like reading across like that. It's just a personal preference. I feel like this one is easier on my eyes. All right, let's go back to our big picture step. Data set, check. Pivot tables, check. I made 2 in the fictional data set. I think we had 4 charts, therefore 4 pivot tables. Let's make some pivot charts, and then I'm going to link them with a slicer. You're going to go to the pivot tables. You're going to click on one. You have to be clicked on it, not on some random white cell. Click on it. Go to insert and grab the chart you want. Now, I am not anti-donut chart. A lot of data viz and data people are. You're not going to use donut charts for, okay, this one, right? We're not doing this. We're not doing, that's too many slices, really hard to compare. The rule is 2 slices, binary data. You're either in this bucket or you're in this bucket, okay? Click on the pivot table, go to insert, pick the chart you want. Donuts are fine for 2 slice data. Here's the donut chart. It's not formatted. This is not a data viz session. This is a what are the mechanics of dashboard session. So if you've ever taken classes with me before, you know I can't stand this because it's not colorblind friendly. We've got the separate legend, zigzag, zigzag of your eyes. Look at all this clutter and redundancy. It's a mess, okay? I'm going to ignore that for now. You ignore that too, because I just want to show you the building blocks. So I've got the pivot chart. I'm going to put it on a new sheet. In real life, you'd probably call this dashboard, but for today, because I'm demoing the 4 steps, I'm going to call it charts, and slicer. I'm going to do a cut. Okay, click on the chart, right click, cut, and I'm going to paste it over here. Just Control V to paste. Let's make the next one. This one's going to be a simple bar chart. Click on the pivot table, go to insert, go to, should I show you what not to do? It's not going to be a column chart because then these get diagonal, or sometimes they get cut off, or if you make your chart too narrow, they get vertical. If you like oh, what a mess, right? They're not even all labeled, okay? There's not enough breathing room. And horizontal text is the fastest to read. That's why we're doing a good old bar chart like this one. Regular old horizontal bar chart, plenty of space for the horizontal names. I'm going to cut this one as well. Cut it and paste it. We'll just put it here for now. Okay, so far so good. Data set, check. Pivot tables, check. We've got 2 pivot charts, check. Let's link it all together with a slicer. You're going to click on one of the charts. You go to insert. That's how you link the slicer to it. You click on it first, go to insert. It's right here. Do you see top center slicer? And what do we want to slice and dice by? I created a fake nonprofit example today. I'm pretending we have different program sites. We want to compare them or look at one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to click on program site. You click OK, and you get the little slicer. It would probably go up here in the upper left so that people don't have to hunt for the data. I'm going to click on it, and you tell me the problem you see. If I click on site A, the donut chart changed ever so slightly. Did the bar chart change? If we click on site B, the donut chart changed ever so slightly. Here's site C. Do you see how it's only controlling one of the charts? So the last thing you're going to do is you're going to click on your slicer because that's a way to edit. You go up to the slicer tab at the top. It's green, right? You go to report connections. That is such a jargony term. I'm not a fan of that term. I don't know what to call it instead. You tell me in the chat if you can come up with a better term. Okay, we click on report connections and we say, oh, look, the slicer, it's only linked to that first pivot table. Let's link it to the second pivot table. In real life, you can also name your pivot tables so you know like which one's missing. Oh yeah, it's the language one is missing. Click OK, and now the slicer is connecting both charts. All right, I have to show you one more piece before we go. I have just enough time. Let's say, what is our N here? Let me show all the data again. What is our total N? Was it 158? Yeah, 158 right here. Let's say you add new data. You paste in a new export. And let's say you add, I'm just going to hand type it. Again, in real life, you'd be pasting this. Let's say this person also speaks French. Okay, so now I have one more person at site A who speaks French. How many people do I have here for French? There's 36. No, site A, 8 people. Look at how my, oops, I filtered. Here it is. There's our 158. Do you see how it didn't change to 159? It didn't automatically update. And you're like, and you said it would. You said it at the time. All you have to do is when your data set updates, you have to click the refresh button for all the linkages to go through. Refresh is just, it's like this, okay? You click on one of your pivot tables, you go up to the green tabs at the top. Those are the ones that have the editing features on it. Refresh is right here in the top center. It looks like a little recycling button. You click the down arrow and you just refresh all your pivot tables. You give it a second. There's 159. Okay. That's it. I'd say of this whole process, probably that's what people mess up the most. They either forget that the slicer has to be linked to both or all, or you might have 5 or 10 charts in real life, right? With the report connections button, that's an easy one to miss, right? Because it has that weird name. And probably the second one that I see people miss is they say, I added new rows to my data set. I appended my table, just like you said I could. I have the same numbers as before. So you have to refresh all of your pivot tables to refresh all of your links. All right, I am out of time. So I'm going to send you the link to downloads. Okay. I'm going to put this link in the chat. And I have a coupon code for you. This is only for people at the conference. Don't share it with all the random internet people. This is just a gift for you. Okay. Here is the link in the chat. It's depictedstudio.gumroad.com/ I don't know if that's an L or a one. Couldn't tell you. Demographics dashboard. And you're like, wait, it's $50 because it's usually inside one of my workshops. You're gonna say, but guess what? It's not $50 for you. You have to click I want this on your screen. A discount code is Good Tech Fest. Good Tech Fest. You have to spell it right. Here's the coupon code. Good Tech. It's not teach. It's tech. It's not feast. It's fest. Good Tech Fest. Click apply. Give it a second to think. It's $0. Put in your email address. You're going to get it. It's going to show you 2 files. It's going to show you the your turn, the blank one, and the answer key with all the cool stuff in it. We didn't have a chance to go through all the nitty-gritty details of the charts. I can stick around for a little Q&A time if you'd like. I have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, but we're going to get booted off the Zoom for the next session to start. And I think you're going to like the answer key though, so that you can see kind of like more of what I did behind the scenes. You can click on these sentences. You'll see concatenations in there. And I did my best to annotate all of this for you. Do you see the annotations, the little italics with my notes? This is what I was doing this morning. I was adding more notes for you because I thought we're not going to get through every detail in half an hour, but we'll get through a lot. Okay. There's notes about what formulas are in there and why, so that it's all cleverly linked. All right. Do I dare open the chat? I saw it on my second screen. It was like flash, flash, flash out the corner of my eye. If you have a question, you're going to have to retype it because I can't scroll 5 miles up in the chat. Let's see what types of questions that you've got, and I'll get through as many as I can. I see a bunch of thanks. Thank you. Ellie says, how do you share this dashboard for people to interact with? Excel dashboards live in Excel, so you'd have to share the Excel file with them. Lamia asks, I think the map was a hot topic. Maps are in newer versions of Excel, Excel 2018 or 2019 and higher. They're really easy to add. You just highlight your data set, insert a map. That's it. That's it. A lot of people don't know they exist. What else? Can you have multiple data sets in a dashboard? Yes and no. If the data set has the same if it's at the same level, if it's all participant data on demographics, that needs to be contiguous. If you have participant level data on some other topic altogether, what would that be? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a nonprofit example. If they do surveys once a month in your program, and one person has 1 survey and another person took 5 surveys, it would be 1 row per survey. It wouldn't be, if it's different levels. What else would be an example? The foundation dashboard I'm working on right now, we have 1 data set per grant and another one for grantee demographics. Those are different levels. Those can be different data sets. They don't feed into the same pivot tables or charts. It's 2 data sets, 2 sets of pivot tables, but the charts can live together on 1 cohesive sheet too. Farewell. Stay in touch. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Find me on the internet, Ann K. Emery. I'm very easy to find. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye, folks.